Looks like we're live. Alrighty. So this time we have about 20 minutes before the fry timer goes off. About 20 minutes. And we're definitely live with audio. So I'm being played like a fiddle. I know. When you get backed into a corner, you only have so many options about how to maneuver. And yeah, so posting online about narcissistic abuse, calling a narcissist, that makes them go into immediate damage control and just start doing everything they can to mess you up. And this has happened with 2 or 3 people now, and I've been messed up. I'm never saying names except for the employer, whose names I say, Open Table. So silent treatment when they're part of the reference check process, and you need money to eat, to get around, etc. You need references to be able to work. Like, they know eventually you're either going to die or get pretty mad. And, you know, how you handle anger, definitely a natural emotion. And, you know, a lot of people think, oh, anger, bad, suppress anger. And that's a lot of times if they grew up with an abusive parent who is like overtly raging and whatnot. Like, I've been talking about my relative raging every single night. Like, at this point it's so scripted, it's obviously acting, it's obviously fake. There's been other fake acting in the past, and I hate giving power to these vampires. And, you know, it's like I completely cut them off, but then they know that when they whack me, I come on here and post about it. And so it's their feedback loop. It's how they get their supply. And even just like on the spirit level, I'm giving it energy. But the thing is, I'm trying to make it be productive by sharing. Well, so from two angles. One, by sharing just like what's happening. And I know there's like communities of like 700,000 people online who go through this kind of stuff. And they don't know what's going on. Just like in the beginning, I didn't know what was going on. Like, if I would have known what narcissistic abuse was, I would have just stayed on the street during pandemic. Like, I knew deep internally, I got so many signals, don't come back with my relatives. Like, they were not abusive that I knew of to me prior in ways that I could perceive as abuse. But there was just other family members who were the scapegoats or the black sheep prior to me. And, you know, I've talked about this in a bunch of streams in the past, but, you know, like, figuring it out is difficult. So, like, from the one angle, sharing what's happening might help other people identify, you know, you might need 1,000 voices sharing what's happening to them for people to pick up on, whoa, like, my situation is very much like this situation and this situation out of the 1,000 voices, and then start seeing the pattern. But where being backed into a corner comes into it is literally without money, you can't buy hosting, you can't buy a journal. You know, the Homeless Data Project, the system of record, like, that's all about finding an affordable way to keep track of what's happening. And, like, you know, you basically have to do it as an anonymous account. Like, that community of 700,000, pretty much everyone has an anonymous account. But because of what was going on with Open Table, I was saying I'm not going to have any anonymous accounts. And so, you know, everything is being posted as my real name, and so now my old friends and relatives are picking up on it, and like they're seeing that I'm vulnerable, and they're going ahead and pushing my buttons in similar ways because, you know, when I'm backed into a corner, there's not too many ways that I can react to their lying about me, to their, you know, rather than there's just like what I've called in the past, just like these ham-fisted setups where it's like so obviously acting and so obviously manufactured and so obviously like set up to look like, oh, just a big misunderstanding and I'm unforgiving and I'm trying to not work and I'm trying to, you know, build stuff on people's back or ride people's coattails, or I'm trying to watch what other people are doing and copy them, and it's always going to be a projection of what they're doing to me. And like there's so much information about narcissistic abuse online too that like these people know it's like they can project and make you look like a narcissist. So it's like, yes, I know all these people are painting me as a narcissist because they know what a narcissist is. Like, they're self-aware. But then, you know, me sitting here and saying that these people are doing it is like, oh, well, I'm just projecting onto them, right? So it's just like, it's an arms race. Like, what's the next level? Like, you know, is there, like, I don't know if there is a winning solution to going online and posting, you know, posting as my own name. And so the open table restraining order is now over, which means I have a little bit more flexibility to use anonymous accounts, to reply to people talking to me with anonymous accounts, because before I was just thinking like a predictable move for their lawyers to do, which they have used trickery before. They have come to my workplaces and used trickery even with the administration before. Like, these people are playing for blood. And so something they would do to me would be set up an anonymous account, interact with me with the account, and then have one of the managers who committed perjury say that's my account, say that I contacted them with that account, you know, maybe just literally change the name and handle so it seems as though I knew. And then, boom, violation of restraining order. What does that mean? That means I go to jail. These people would do that. And it's not unique to them. Like, this is literally just psychopathic behavior, narcissistic behavior, cluster B behavior, reprobate behavior in terms of biblical, jinn behavior in terms of, you know, Islam. And the reason these people act this way, it's not like they have necessarily a big grand plan. It's not like there's a big conspiracy. It's just because their vessels are weak. Like, they drink alcohol, they fornicate, they, you know, they let, you know, they're dishonest, they let their vibration lower, they're out of touch with their heart center, and so these jinn or archons or demons or whatever it is, like, they've all got the same playbook, and so they manifest their behavior through these people. But it doesn't mean that my responding to them in the physical, because like these disembodied spirits don't have the ability to interact with the human, you know, 3D world without going through weak vessels. And so in the past when I've been like, I won't live with or work for an alcoholic, you know, before pandemic, it's because I knew that, you know, I didn't know how low it could go. I didn't know what barriers could be broken. Like, I thought, like, blood is thicker than water and all this stuff. Like, I thought, you know, old friends would see benefit to, you know, staying. Like, I just didn't know how evil could get. And I'm not saying that these people are evil. It's just that they do things that let evil work through them. So it's like, forgive them for they know not what they do. Like, I have no beef with any person. It's just in order to, I know I'm going all over the place here, but it's just in order to have physical access to me, people need to be not drinking, Like, at least regularly, maybe occasionally if you're a fun drunk, whatever, like, maybe occasionally. But if you're drinking every day, several times per week, every week, even, like, every month in some cases, maybe, like, during the summer it's okay. Like, there's a lot more patios, blah, blah, blah. But, you know what I mean? Like, if you're reliant on, if you're a habitual drinker, if you're a habitual fornicator, if you're not just making mistakes, if you're, like, beyond the period of grace, like, you're definitely letting evil work through you. You don't have access to me. So as long as you're doing those things, until you repent, which means to stop and change directions, you don't have access to me. But since pandemic hit, I was kind of forced into that corner of, like, having to reach out to old friends, having to reach out to my relatives. Like, the gyms are closed. I literally didn't have a shower for a year. The restraining order hit, so, like, literally I wasn't able to work. And it's like, these are all things that a narcissist would say, like, oh, I fell on hard times. Oh, I can't work. Like, all with the eye of, like, getting over on other people and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, I'm just a homeless guy. Like, what could people possibly be trying to take from me? Well, I'm a homeless guy who's worked, 90, 100,000 plus hours in my profession. I've made more money than basically anybody I knew, and they knew that, and they can tell that by, like, the nice photos I posted. I lived in the most expensive city with no trouble. I had my own place and a car, and, like, people could tell I was doing well. So, like, I had something going for me, obviously. And so now I'm vulnerable. So now it's like, oh, it's like I'm so easy to paint as just like a narcissist trying to take from people and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, coming on here and saying this, if you know a narcissist, like, this is literally just like playing the narcissistic tune. And you know why? It's because narcissists emulate people with empathy and what people with empathy do. And so by the time a person with actual empathy is in a hard spot, they've seen narcissists do these things several times before. So it's like, and then the narcissist sort of like, or cluster B person, reprobate, demon, jinn, archon, whatever, has your mutual friends primed and ready to wipe you out. And they're looking for the opportunity, because there's another word, they're sadistic. So they want to wipe you out. They're like waiting for a reason to pull the trigger and wipe you out, right? So it's like everything that I'm doing is like prepared for. And it's not even like they're sitting there consciously waiting for me to do it necessarily. It's just these disembodied spirits are acting through them. And it's like even society is set up to, like, the whole like mental health diagnosis and all that stuff is part of the societal level psychopathy. Like, if you start talking about disembodied spirits, people start saying you're a little bit cuckoo, blah, blah, blah. Like, I would have been included in that. Like, I used to be straight up child of the Matrix. Like, I was never without empathy, but I was, where I was just not vulnerable to anybody because I was making a lot of money, and, like, I knew how to keep a job, and, like, I just didn't, like, I was naive. I was still under grace. I didn't know if I was doing evil, what evil I was doing, like, for example, just, like, enabling bad behavior from the family. Like, my mom passed away, and I believe that she was murdered by her husband, but, like, while she was alive, like, so, I cut her off because I knew bad spirits were acting through her, and I was just like, you don't have access to me until you repent in some way. So what's her husband going to do? He's going to keep her drinking. He's going to keep her dependent. Like, he told me a long time ago that he was going to divorce her. And, like, at that point, I should have taken my mom's side and helped her get away from him. But I didn't know that evil existed. I was naive. I didn't know how evil people would be to avoid paying a divorce settlement. Like, I didn't know people would murder. I didn't know people would murder for, to avoid paying, if he had just divorced her, she would have got the house. He would have now been in my situation, homeless. or, you know, at least in a very tough spot renting an apartment. So it's like, in order to avoid paying alimony, losing the house, this and that, people murder. Plus, on top of that, now you get life insurance, right? So during pandemic, there was the perfect opportunity. They were in the house alone together. Autopsies weren't being done. He told me that he was afraid that she was going to die in a particular way. Lo and behold, I'm resisting coming to stay with them, resisting coming to stay with them. They're like, oh yeah, come start a business here, you know, at their place. And it's like, no, I'm not going to stay there because you're alcoholics, and I know how it's going to go. And now I'm with a relative who's an alcoholic, and it's going exactly as I feared. So I'm glad I didn't go to stay with my parents, because it would have been, good Lord, would it have been terrible. Just thinking about it, like me trying to stand up for my mom. Really what I should have done is long ago, when my sperm donor told me that he was going to divorce my mom, I should have just got my mom out of there. But, because I think my mom was pretty empathic, like, she might have started picking up narcissistic traits, like, it becomes a survival mechanism. Like, people learn it, and then it starts working, and then they forget the empathy. But, you know, a lot of times they just never had empathy, right? So I'm pretty sure my mom had empathy. She did have creativity and this and that, but, like, you know, in retrospect, I thought she just stopped with her little businesses, stopped her endeavors because she was just a drunk and forgot about it or something. But, like, I found a journal that she had written in where my sperm donor had, you know, written, you know, don't forget everything I do for you. Like, so it's like what she was doing in my, you know, in old school planners is what I'm doing by posting on the internet here. It's like you go crazy if you don't express it somehow. Oh, this is coming a few minutes earlier. So I said it about 5 minutes early. So, yeah, I mean, basically, like, what I really need to do is just totally stop posting about this stuff, like, because it's literally just, I'm being played like a fiddle, I'm being prepared, like, my relative, you know, I've mentioned that he's, you know, cried before. I know it was fake crying, like, I know what fake crying and tears sound like. It's just like, why would he do something like fake cry? I don't know what I'm being prepared for. He is, you know, he's passed out in the bathroom or faked it. And it's like, why would he do that? I don't know, but it's just like, it's to get me to comment on it. And it's like these nightly rages, it's like the feedback loop is closed by me saying that he's raging. And then it's like, these people like picture like the court battle. Like if I say something about what he's raging about, then he can come by and say, oh, well, he's, and then, you know, one up me and how much of a victim he is, right? So it's like, I've never said that I'm a victim. 100% never said that I'm a victim or acted like a victim. It's like, oh, it's just a thinly veiled act to show that you're not playing like a victim, right? No, I've never felt like a victim. And it's just like, I know where where attention goes, energy flows. What you energize, you bring into your life, right? So it's like, I don't want to like sit here and talk about this. I know it turns people off. I know it makes some people think that I'm a narcissist. Like, I know that it's just straight up like people decide to put their energy into watching my stream. I am doing so much every day, and it's like so systematically every morning, every night, steal attention. And so like what I'm doing is literally just not even being bothered with it in my own time. And it's just like, I'm so tired of posting it because I know it's just so fake. It's so fake. And it's just like it's not even that I'm afraid. Like maybe I have been for like small periods that, you know, because it's like I do feel like my mom was murdered. I do feel like murder is something that this family system would do. Like, there's so many, like, lies and just, like, enablers and family secrets, and I'm not like sitting here and trying to blab it all. It's just like for my own accountability. Like the reason for journaling is so that you don't just go crazy, like, and so that you have accountability in some way. So it's like if I post online anymore, it's going to be through anonymous accounts, never on this account. But I still probably will post general narcissistic abuse. Like, I don't want to put energy into it. Like, but at the same time, so many other people who have put energy into describing it and talking about what's happening to them and this and that, it's helped me make sense of the situation so much that I want to, you know, return the favor in some way and like leave a ladder for other people to crawl out of their situation if they're in a similar situation. So it's like the one aspect out of the two, the journaling, I can do, you know, in detail on anonymous accounts. But the other aspect, which is leaving a ladder for other people, maybe I'll make another, like I've made the Narc Abuse 411 brand. And so from there I can, you know, write like general like patterns, techniques, things that have helped, aggregate other channels, other resources, and maybe just like roll off that theme on this iSpooge Daily brand. Because like at this point it's been like years, it's been between the employer and the relatives, it's just like it's so tiring. Like every other post it's about this, and it's just like, and I know it's part of the feedback loop. Like I know the relatives are watching it, I know, like it's just like a sine wave at this point where it's not going to stop. And like the more I do it, the more it's going to look like I'm some kind of aggressor and blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, there's the admission that I know I need to change my techniques to have people believe me and blah blah blah. It's just like, it's like turned into checkers. It's just so predictable. So I'm going to need to split those two functions out and do accountability with anonymous accounts and do just like patterns of this stuff happening with a dedicated account so that there's not so much noise. Like this brand is like alt personal brand or B-side. It's experimental. So it's like the experiment is like, it's concluded. Like I've learned what I need to learn about this narcissistic abuse stuff. I've shared what I can share in like the raw form for this format, and like in order to share more, it's going to have to level up on its own brand. And in order to keep accountability with the kind of detail I want, I'm going to have to just go off grid with an anon brand. So anyway, fries are getting done. I think this is the last I'm going to talk about any kind of narc abuse stuff on this channel, except perhaps during an iSpooge Daily episode in the future. I'll say what the brand is. It'll probably be called Narc Abuse 411. But yeah, it's just like, I know I'm being played like a fiddle by posting about what's happening here. You know, the employer situation is done. The restraining order of 3 years has expired a few days ago. So it's like the value of talking about this on this channel anymore has basically disappeared. But I do want to pay it forward on another dedicated brand, and I do need to keep my own accountability and journaling on just a hidden brand that people don't know about and can't find, where details are hidden to protect the innocent, blah blah blah. So anyway, thanks for joining, and I'll see you soon. Looking forward to talking about other topics, and I'm glad spring is here, and looking forward to the next journey. So thanks. Bye.